right, we're back. How are you, everyone? Good to see you. DJ, Diane, uh, Sean, Peekaboo, and I Hate Mornings. How are you? Um, I wanted to show you something that's happening down here. Really, really bizarre. They're not sure what's going on. And I thought you might like to hear about this. Hold on. It happened last year in my suburb. Luckily, I didn't get sick, but they're saying this is the worst Legionnaire's disease outbreak in Melbourne in 20 years. There was one literally in my suburb last year, and they put a massive warning out. Luckily, I didn't get sick at the time, but now they're saying there's a huge outbreak in the middle of Melbourne. A woman has died after contracting Legionnaire's disease in Melbourne as the outbreak continues to grow. They revealed the woman was in her 90s and they said that she got sick really suddenly. The chief health officer for Victoria said authorities hadn't identified a single cooling tower responsible for the outbreak yet, but based on case movements, it was likely in Derrimut or Laverton North area. She said they were working with the Bureau of Meteorology to see if recent weather patterns could explain the wider than usual spread of Legionella bacteria. It comes as Melbourne recorded 60 cases of the disease on Friday. Authorities also revealed there were a further 10 suspected cases in an alert on Thursday and said they were still testing local cooling towers and other potential sources. There have now been 70 confirmed cases of suspected cases recorded in just 1 week around metropolitan Melbourne, which most of which have required hospitalization, including multiple patients admitted to intensive care. Numbers have increased steadily throughout the week, with authorities announcing 22 cases on Monday, 33 on Tuesday, and 40 on Wednesday. Dr. Looker said the woman who died became very suddenly unwell and passed away on July 30. She lived in the broader area of concern. The doctor said they were keeping an open mind but suspected the source was an industrial cooling tower in one of two suburbs. She said they had tested and disinfected 41 of 100 cooling towers in the general area so far, with more scheduled to be disinfected today, but it could take up to 10 days to get results. She said, so I think there's a high probability that we have already visited the tower and disinfected it, and that it is really driven by some pretty compelling epidemiology and crossover of where many of our cases have visited. She said several people did not need to visit the specific building to be exposed and could be several kilometers from a contaminated cooling tower. The highest risk is around 500 meters from the cooling tower, but we do know when conditions are right, it can be much further. The doctor said the vast majority of cases, 59 of them, um, had been hospitalized after getting sick. Authorities believe most people were exposed between July 5th and July 20 and began showing symptoms on or after the 15th of July. Really freaky, and it seems to not be slowing down right now. I mean, 70 cases of Legionnaire's disease in Melbourne. When the one happened in my suburb last year, there was only 5 people. So we were very lucky. But this one is huge. 70 people in a week. That is the worst outbreak in 2 decades down here. They're saying that they're hoping that they've already found the tower and that it's been cleaned, and hopefully no more people will get sick, but we will see. They said here Melbourne's sudden spike in Legionnaire's disease is the city's worst outbreak of bacterial pneumonia in more than 2 decades. The health minister said on Thursday morning it was concerning that authorities hadn't yet been able to determine the source of the outbreak. Contact tracing still has not found the cause of the outbreak, with authorities still searching for a contaminated water source, such as a building's cooling tower or another waterway. So yeah, the last one that was around, the big one, was in the year 2000 at Melbourne Aquarium, which affected more than 150 people and killing 4 of them. She said, "For Australia, this is definitely a significant outbreak. Unfortunately, it looks like there are several people in intensive care, so that suggests to me there is something that's been heavily contaminated, and people have breathed in quite a few of the bacteria, and they're quite sick." So, not good that now a woman has died and passed away. She was 90 years old, and, let's hope they've found the actual source of the contamination. It'd be good if they have. I will be careful. I am not that close. No, I'm not that close to where they're saying it's on the city or north side. I am on the south side. So at least as far as I know, I'm okay. But last year when it was the other outbreak, it was literally a street from where I lived. It was really close, very close. But I didn't get sick, luckily. Well, they're not sure. They think that maybe they've already cleaned the tower, but they're not 100% sure, and they have not identified the actual tower. The one in 2000 was an aquarium, so it was the Melbourne Aquarium. The actual water in some of their back systems, um, that they use for flushing the system, that was what caused it back then. Because some aquariums have to be warmer for some fish that need tropical water, and that's what was had the bacteria. Um, yeah. All right. Let's now that we've done that one, we can go to true crime. I I saw this come up on my news thing. It's a part Othram story, part weird true crime possible story. It's about a bag of bones that were found hanging on a tree in 2022, and they brought in Othram to try to solve the mystery, but they need some public help. So listen to the details of this. It's really freaky.
Tonight, Palos Heights police are trying to determine the identity of bones found hanging from a tree near the Cal-Sag Canal. They're working with a private lab to try to solve this mystery.
WGN's Shannon Halligan is explaining how they're also asking the public for their help.
Yeah, so it was a few days after Christmas in 2022, and some people on the bike path in the southwestern suburb noticed a bag hanging from a tree. Now, investigators say that they are trying to work backwards to try and find some answers.
This stretch of Southwest Highway is well-traveled road through Palos Heights, but it was just off the street near the path that someone noticed something unusual in the trees.
Some passerbys were on the bike path in like the northwest corner of Palos Heights, and they observed this bag that looked suspicious in a tree, and they kind of took it down and noticed that it could be some amount of bones in it. So they stopped, they notified police, and we went out there.
Detective Sergeant John Parnitsky was called to investigate the unusual find in December of 2022. The plastic bag appeared to have been tossed off the bridge, also weighed down by some asphalt.
It's kind of consistent with someone just driving on the road and throwing this bag from the roadway. The reason you think that is right next to the path is actually the Cal-Sag Canal.
At the time,
You have to think, why would someone have a bag of bones, not body parts, but bones, and then throw them off a freeway? But not just humans, some of the bones were animal. So why would you even have a mixture? What is weird is in the bag, they found two parts of two different humans of the skull or mandible. And so is it more than one victim? It's very, very odd. Let me play the rest of it.
police and the medical examiner weren't even sure if the remains were human.
They had some anthropologists look at it and determined that there was a mixture of bones. There were some human, some animal. It looked like two of the bones actually were like lower mandibles from adult humans.
But it wasn't clear how old the bones were or the circumstances to how they wound up next to the canal. That's when Palos Heights police decided to work with a private lab.
How can you investigate something when you don't know where someone is or who they are?
Dr. Kristen Middleman is the Chief Development Officer at Othram, a forensic genetic genealogy company based out of Texas. Scientists will help extract DNA from the bones and, using public databases, try and find a relative.
And that allows us to figure out where this person belongs in a family tree. We give that information back to law enforcement, and law enforcement can call the family and ask if they have someone missing. And usually they'll say yes and provide a DNA sample for that confirmation.
In this case, police and Othram are using crowdfunding to raise money for this research.
Like any other town, it's tight with resources and trying to do the most we can with what we have. And yeah, this crowdfunding option came up, and obviously we jumped at it.
In the end, they hope to determine an identity and can learn more from there.
We're going to start and work backwards. We have the bones. We need to find out who they belong to, through some sort of DNA sequencing, and then work backwards to see where it happened.
You can help contribute to the investigation through this crowdfunding method. We have a link up on our website at WGNTV.com, but really such a strange instance that kind of, fell into the tree there.
You hear them talk about needing funding and having to go to the public for it. There should be federal funding when it gets to this point. When it gets to this point in time, we shouldn't have to go to the public for it. Should be able to go to the federal government and get some sort of funding. It's ridiculous that the police department and Othram need to be able to get funds from, in this sort of way. Let me see if I can find the Othram page for it. There should be a link. Here. So right now, it's only raised $3.75 out of its $7,500 goal. What does it say here? In December 2022, officers from the Palos Heights Police Department hold on. Were dispatched to a bike path east of the Southwest Highway overpass. No, don't do that. They're saying police discovered the partial remains of an unidentified individual inside the plastic bag that was hanging in the branches of a tree. There was another bag filled with asphalt and rocks inside the bag. At the time of the discovery of the remains, there were no identifying characteristics that could help further the investigation and identify the person whom the remains belong. The skeletal remains were collected and submitted to the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office for an anthropologist to review. After the remains were recovered, details of the case were entered into NamUs as UP99513. Despite investigators' work to identify the individual, the remains remain a mystery. In 2024, the Palos Heights Police Department partnered with Othram to determine if advanced DNA testing could help identify the individual. Anyone with information that could aid the investigation is encouraged to contact the police department on 708-448-5060. Let's see, NamUs, this one. All right. What does it have here? It doesn't have a lot of information. Body discovered December 22nd, 2023. Entered into NamUs about a month later on January 24th, 2023. So it's only partial skeletal remains, so they don't have the entire body either. It's only partial. it's not a full set. That's very interesting. Anything else? Doesn't seem like much else. And there's not a ton of other information either. Hold on. So, and bones found hanging tree in 2022. All right, let's see if we can find the original article from back in 2022. You know what's interesting? This is not the only one. There's a few different ones around that have a similar sort of description. I'm just trying to see if there was an original article in 2022. No, I don't see an original article. Maybe it was never made public at the time. I don't know. Yeah, no article from back then, unfortunately. Sean says, which is our taxes anyway. Right, but at least it's better than having to pay twice, right, Sean? You're already paying taxes and then you have to fund it because they need to crowdfund again. A bone wind chime? I don't know about that. Sean says, remember there was a guy who dumped bones they caught later, but he was involved in donor parts. Oh, okay. That happens. Hey, Beth B, how are you? And Cheated No More. And Kim, how are you? Maybe ritualistic, maybe. Well, I was trying to think of what there was another one that was similar. You know, actually, there was a very strange story out of Australia. It doesn't fully relate to this, but I want to show it to you anyway. There was a guy found in a body in a bin a few years ago. Here, I'll show it to you. Not far from where I live. Here, body in bin identified as man who went missing 17 years ago. The remains of a graphic artist called John Christianos, 40, discovered in Melbourne's storage facility. They said a body found in a wheelie bin at a Melbourne storage facility had been identified as that of a graphic artist who went missing more than 17 years ago. Workers discovered the remains of John on July 13th in Oakley South while they were cleaning out a storage unit. He went missing in 2001 and was last seen at a residential home in Bentley East. Police say South Australian-born Christianos had been estranged from his family for some time before he disappeared. An inquest in 2011 found that he likely died on or after the 11th of June 2001. The cause of death and circumstances were unable to be determined. Even though it's been over 17 years since he was last seen, we believe that it is likely there are people out there who know what happened to John, according to a missing persons detective. Clearly, something significant has happened after John left his home for his body to be dumped in a bin and locked up for so many years. Yeah, they just sort of, someone had a storage locker for a very long time and then stopped paying for it. And then I think they got him, right? Jail time for man who killed artist and dumped him in the wheelie bin. Yes. Yeah. So they ended up finding, it took a long time, but they ended up finding him. It says jail for shop owner who shot and killed portrait seller, stored body in wheelie bin for 17 years. This is John Spencer White, pleaded guilty to manslaughter in April. They're saying a Melbourne shop owner who shot dead a graphic artist with an unregistered gun before hiding his body in a wheelie bin for 17 years has been sentenced to 6 years and 6 months in jail. John Spencer White dumped John Christianos' body in the bin in 2001, where it sat undiscovered, covered by grass clippings, inside a storage unit in Melbourne Southeast until 2018. He pleaded guilty to manslaughter in April after admitting he shot and killed Mr. Christianos during an alcohol-fueled argument in 2001. He has been given a non-parole period of 3 years and 6 months. White stopped paying the rent on the Oakley South storage unit soon after dumping the body and later moved to Queensland to retire. It was not until the owner of the facility sold the property last year that workers emptied it and discovered the remains. White appeared at the Supreme Court of Victoria in a suit, tie, and sneakers and said nothing as he was sentenced today. They're saying here, the victim was irrational and a real threat to kill her. Your crime of manslaughter is a very serious offense, especially since you consciously procured an unlawful handgun. Mr. Christianos, who was 40 when he was killed, was a graphic artist who Justice Elliott said was talented, but displayed irrational and violent behavior. The trial heard he sold portraits of champion footballer Gary Ablett and cricket legend Don Bradman in White's memorabilia shop in Malvern East. The men had been friends and lived together at the business for a period of time before Mr. Christianos moved to Bentley East, where he was living at the time he was killed. The men went to a pub in Caulfield together on the night of his death and returned to White's business to continue drinking. They began arguing before Christianos pulled the knife, prompting White to arm himself with the gun. He shot Christianos twice in the chest, killing him. His body was found with illicit drugs in his system, including methamphetamine. Justice Elliott said he suffered from drug and alcohol abuse. The justice said said Mr. Christianos, or John, was physically bigger than White, and there was a real and immediate threat to White during the scuffle. The plea of guilty shows genuine remorse. However, if you had been truly remorseful in 2001, you would have gone to the police immediately. Justice Elliott said the victim's family were denied the right to grieve while the body was left undiscovered. His mother spoke of the constant worry she suffered in the years since his disappearance. And it says down here, the family slams pathetic sentence for the family of the victim. They saying people representing the family and friends of the victim told the ABC the sentence was pathetic and doesn't meet community expectations for gun violence. The court heard White had had a troubled life. He was sexually SA'd at the age of 8 and had been a ward of the state. It must be acknowledged that you had made the most of your life given your limited opportunities. He said witnesses had described White as compassionate, with empathy, and of good character. Justice Elliott said if White had not entered a guilty plea, he would have been sentenced to 8 years in prison with a non-parole period of 6 years. He said as a man in his 60s, any prison sentence would weigh heavily on him. So he only had to serve 3 years in prison, and probably 3 on parole for the murder. Yep, 6 years. That's all he got. Yeah, but it was. I always think back to this particular case when I think of weird bones or bodies turning up, because this particular one happened when the building got sold to a new owner. The new owner came in to clean it out to be able to demolish it. And as these workers who had no idea of the history of the building or who owned what, they opened this bin and they found the body in there. I want to say there was concrete in the bin too, but I can't be sure of that. Hold on. I'll see if I can find an old link. I want to say that there was, but Here. Suspected human remains have been discovered inside a wheelie bin by workers clearing it out at a storage warehouse in Melbourne's southeast. Victoria Police were called to Total Self-Storage on Millgate Street in Oakley South just after 11 a.m. after treating the matter as suspicious. Homicide squad detectives said the suspected remains were in a state of decomposition. What we're looking at is possibly a long-term decomposition of the body, so we'll need to take a fair investigation to get to the bottom of it. She said the remains may have been there for more than 15 years. Well, they were right, like 17. One of the workers at the warehouse said the suspected remains were found inside a wheelie bin, which was discovered inside a container covered in soil. They said, I've looked in this container and there's a wheelie bin in there and it had a strap around it, a couple of straps. I've cut the straps and the lid's fallen open and it seemed like there was grass clippings in there and moldy stuff. I've started to scrape it away and then someone sort of said, oh look, there's a boot. They've dug away a bit more and sure enough, there seemed to be a boot there. Another worker was pulling back grass clippings, and a couple of the guys had come to the conclusion that there was a body in there. It wasn't until I saw what looked like to be a foot in a sock, and I said, "Oh shit." He said the sock appeared to be pink. Um, he said it was pretty boned out. It was pretty thin. Police said the boot was black, but would not give any further details. Yeah. So that's when they located it at the storage facility. This was the old building here. They sold the building to knock it down and turn it into something else at the time. It is a bit like gross cuttings, not grass cuttings. Yeah. Chidno Moss says, I think we need a PTSD trauma group for workers finding so many bodies. Maybe, yeah, maybe. All right. All right, let's keep going. What else do I have? What? Sorry, this is not true crime, but what is this? Let's keep going with weird items. Weird items found at origin of quarry fire burning in Jefferson County, sources tell Denver 7 investigates. Informed sources not yet calling it arson as investigation into fire continues. How do you have weird items? What are they? It says fire investigators have found some weird items and what they confirmed to be the source of the quarry fire in Jefferson County. And they said the items are now the focus of the fire investigation. But sources told Denver 7 investigates that they are not ready to call it arson. The quarry fire was first reported Tuesday night and remains at 0% containment as of Thursday afternoon. So far, it has burned through 450 acres, up from 341 acres. The new acreage was open space land, and while the sheriff's office said containment remains at 0, the fire was less active Thursday and crews made progress. By the way, if you're in Ohio right now, I hope you're not getting smashed by weather. I was watching the football earlier, and the football game got cancelled at the Hall of Fame because the weather was so bad. And they didn't think it was going to get better anytime soon, so they canceled the entire game. Yeah, let's see if they talk about the weird items on here.
New on Denver 7 News at 5, we are also finding new exclusive details from investigators about the potential cause of the quarry fire.
That's right. Denver 7's chief investigative reporter Tony Komaleski was just out at the quarry fire working as sources for information. Tony, you now know what investigators are looking at.
Yeah, good evening, Jacqueline, Jessica. We have been working the phones and meeting with sources connected with all three fires all day long. In the past few hours, we have learned critical details about the potential cause of the quarry fire, according to informed sources. Here's what we know. Fire investigators have confirmed the origin of the quarry fire, and here's the most interesting detail. We have been told investigators found some, quote, weird items at the fire's origin. Those weird items are now the focus of their investigation. They're not ready to call it arson, but after locating those weird items at the origin, clearly investigators are now working to determine their purpose and their role in starting the fire. So to source, they have found weird items that were now being closely investigated. Not ready to call it arson, but this is the question they're working to answer.
Yeah, weird, right? Really weird. These weird items. I don't know what they could be, but maybe they are aliens. Maybe you're right, Angela. It's aliens. It's got to be. All right, let's see what else I have on my list of crimes and stuff. Let's see. No, we don't want to do Delphi. I thought I had something on a shooting. Hold on. Where's my links? Come on. Yeah. Says here, an Indianapolis man sentenced to 110 years for 2021 double homicide. They're saying here an Indianapolis man was sentenced to 110 years in prison for his role in a Northside shooting that resulted in the death of two men during a $20 marijuana deal in 2021. The Marion County Prosecuting Office announced the sentencing of 21-year-old Cameron Perry on Thursday, following a jury's verdict during a two-day trial in July. Perry was found guilty of 2 counts of murder and carrying a handgun without a license. Andrew Jones, 21, and Blake Kaufman, 20, died in a shooting about 6:45 p.m. on December 1st, 2021, in the 8800 block of Westfield Way at the 9000 Westfield Apartments. That's just southeast of the intersection of East 91st Street and Westfield Boulevard. Investigators interviewed a witness who reported hearing 3 loud thumps and seeing a man in a gray sweatsuit standing behind the victims and the victim's vehicle before fleeing the scene. The witness, along with others, then approached the vehicle and called police. 2 cell phones were recovered at the scene. Investigators obtained warrants for the cell phones, one which belonged to Kaufman. According to a release on Kaufman's phone, which was logged into his personal Instagram account, investigators found video chats and private messages indicating his intention to meet someone at the location of the shooting. The other user of this account deleted their account just hours after the incident. Digital forensic teams traced his account back to Perry. Perry was taken into custody on January 10th initially. He denied knowing either of the victims, but later confessed to meeting up with them to make a purchase. Perry later admitted to engaging in a verbal altercation with Kaufman and Jones before shooting both men. Young people having easy access to firearms leads them to making poor, split-second decisions that result in senseless death and tragedy. It is incumbent upon us to continue to empower young people with the tools to be mindful of the long-term consequences of gun violence in order to avoid tragedies like this one. All right, let's watch the video on it, because 110 years, I mean, all over a $20 marijuana deal. $20 seems like nothing, right?
A man will spend 110 years in prison for a double homicide that happened back in 2021. A judge sentenced Cameron Perry today. A jury found him guilty in July for the murders of Blake Kaufman and Andrew Jones. Happened in December of 2021. Police say the three men scheduled a meetup and then got into a fight before witnesses heard three loud thumps. Officers then discovered Kaufman and Jones shot. Perry admitted to shooting both the victims.
You're watching Wish TV, News 8 at 11 with Phil.
Maybe they think he's a vampire, Sean. Maybe they're like, look, he could be a vampire. So, just to be sure that when we're all long gone and no one remembers this guy, we'll give him 110 years in prison and leave some notes that we believe he may be a vampire, and if he is, to keep him in prison even longer. That might be what they were thinking. That's maybe why they said, we have to be very specific about the number of years. Let's see what else we can find about Mr. Perry. 21-year-old Cameron Perry. Yeah, Fox 59, 4 hours ago. Here's a photo of the young man. This young man decided to throw literally his entire life away over $20 of marijuana. That's it. His life is done. He is never getting out of prison. 110 years in prison for taking two people's lives over something so trivial and so stupid. It says here both victims initially reported to be in critical condition before they later died as a result of their gunshot wounds. MCPO said investigators spoke with the witness who reportedly told them that they recalled hearing the three gunshots and observing a man wearing the gray sweatsuit behind a vehicle that belonged to the victims. So the way they tracked him down was through Instagram messages, apparently, and warrants for those phones. So I don't know what he was thinking of. He met these two guys to buy marijuana. I'm guessing he tried to use the gun to rob them, and it didn't go the way he thought it would, so he decided to shoot them instead. Yeah. During the meeting of the three people, Perry admitted to investigators that a verbal altercation occurred before he fatally shot the two men from the back seat of the car and ran off. That's it. He just decided to shoot them after a argument and just ran off. I guess that's I don't know. Don't know why you would do that for $20 of marijuana. Let's see what else we can find about Mr. Cameron Perry.
Breaking tonight, IMPD is investigating two double shootings just a couple hours apart. The first happened on the north side around 7:30 this evening. Two people were killed at an apartment complex off Westfield Boulevard, just south of 91st Street. Then around 9:30, police say two more people were shot along Carrollton Avenue near 27th and College. Originally, police only found one person at that scene, but another showed up at the hospital with a gunshot wound, and police believe it is related. So far, both victims in that shooting are awake and breathing. Unfortunately, that is not the end of the violence. Police say they're investigating three other shootings across the city tonight that sent three more people to the hospital.
So Westfield is where it happened. That must be a very old video from the year it happened. Let's see. Yeah, 8800 block of Westfield Way. So that video was probably from the night it happened. But yeah, no real other details for something that apparently had a 2-day trial. Not a ton of details. See if we can find anything else on it. Not really. It's pretty pretty and all the videos on it are very, very little. There's another one here from CBS, and it says CBS 4 Indie. It may not even play. No, it doesn't look like it's going to. All right. Let's see what else we have on our list of crazy things to happen in the world today. No, we don't want to do Delphi. What else do we have in our crimes against peoples? All right. Let's All right, shush. All right, let's see what else we have. Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. We were going to do this earlier, and for some reason I didn't end up getting to it. Let's talk about people who fight over chicken. It says here, 2 arrested after brawl breaks out over unseasoned chicken, according to reports. 2 people were arrested and charged with assault after insults over unseasoned chicken turned into a brawl involving Raid, bug spray, a knife, and a gun. Deputies were called to a home on Cody Lane Sunday night in reference to an assault in progress, according to a Georgetown County Sheriff's Office report. When Deputy Kyle Burns and Corporal Simpson arrived, they were told the situation began when Anthony Harper asked why he didn't season the chicken that was cooking so it could crust up. Anthony replied he didn't know how to cook and that their grandmother would season it. Hope Harper then called Anthony a dumb dog, and Anthony became angry, shoving Hope into a table and punching her 5 times. The two continued to fight alongside another victim. Another person in the home then came out of the kitchen and fired a warning shot from a 9mm handgun into the ceiling to break up the fight. Hope then went into the kitchen and grabbed a steak knife, and Anthony broke free from being held back after this and ran to his grandmother's door for fear of his life. Hope started swinging the knife towards Anthony. Then the grandmother came out of her room, grabbed a broom, and started swatting Hope until she walked away and put the knife up. Anthony grabbed a can of Raid bug spray and sprayed Hope on the face and neck. Hope then grabbed the can from Anthony and sprayed him back. Both Anthony and Hope wanted to press charges against one another, according to the sheriff's office, but both were arrested. Hope was booked into Georgetown County Detention Center for one charge of assault and battery in the 3rd degree. She was released on a $1,087 bond. Anthony was booked into the detention center on 2 charges of assault and battery, one in the 3rd degree, one in the 2nd degree. He was released on a $3,587 bond. How is it that the male in this situation ends up with the bigger assault charges and the bigger bond, but the girl who grabbed a knife, an actual weapon, ends up with only 1 charge and a lower bond? Seems like some favoritism going on there. They both should have been charged with the same crime and then taken both their butts to jail. But this will tell you should always season your chicken. Don't be under seasoning no chicken. You may end up in a fight about undercooked chicken. Let me see if I can find anything else on it because I want to see who these people are. Who are these people that fight over chicken? Let's see. What are their dumb names? Let's find out. One is named Anthony. Let's see. Anthony Harper and Hope Harper. No, no one wants to do a video on it apparently. Nope, no one wants to do a video. Let's try WANE. 13 hours ago, Wayne. I think that's the one we were on before. Yeah, it is. No, they don't want to tell us anything, but pretty odd. Oh, here we go. We got a photo of him. Here's the people who like to fight over chicken. Here they are in all their glory. And you can see he's still, it almost looks like he has spray marks from the poison, but I don't think that's what it is. I think for some reason his hair got wet in prison. I don't know why. She looks very pleased with herself that she's in jail. There you go. People who fight over chicken. A 27-year-old man and a 25-year-old woman taken into custody for punching each other during an altercation over unseasoned chicken. Oh my God, people, what are you doing with your life? Let's see if any of these links have a. I want to know more about them. It's not going to show me. Damn. Court records show that they're both being charged with third-degree assault and battery, though. Oh, why did we get access denied? Your request was blocked by our security service. Well, thank you, Public Court Index. I appreciate that. What are their names? Hope Harper. No results. No results on the sheriff booking program. But they already said they bonded out. What? WCBD reports they plan to press more charges against each other. They seem like they have a great family life. They really do. There you go. So in this one, you had unseasoned chicken. Someone fired a 9mm handgun into the air. Someone got sprayed with Raid bug spray. Someone picked up a steak knife. And there was a punch on at the home too. This is a very rowdy home for people just cooking chicken. Hey Gambler, how are you? You gonna cook your own mushrooms, Sean? Okay. People will fight over the stupidest stuff, yeah. Dumb and Dumber. They're gonna do the 2024 sequel where it's a guy and a girl. So yeah, we were supposed to do that earlier and we didn't get to it. So there you go. You can learn about people who fight over chicken. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, we have a. Let's go to Detroit. They say Detroit police seek missing 22-year-old woman with autism. They say police are looking for a 22-year-old woman who has been reported missing from Detroit's west side. According to authorities, Kenya Harrison was last seen on Shiawassee Drive, just north of Grand River Avenue, on July 26 at 10:30 a.m. in the morning. Police said she left her home at the location and has failed to return home since. Her caregiver says she has autism, is described as 22 years old, 5 feet 5 inches tall, 220 pounds, was last seen wearing a black shirt and black shorts. They said if anyone has seen her or knows her whereabouts to call 313-596-5800. There's a photo of her right there. It's the only photo I have. Let's see if I can Google her name. Missing. Actually, there was an update from the Detroit Police Department. Hey, they found her here. Wait. That says April 11th, 2021. Hold on. Okay. So I am guessing she's gone missing before. They didn't say that in the article. It says it was reported that Kananya and her mother went to a local restaurant located in the 7700 block of Grand River on Saturday, April 10, 2021 at approximately 3 p.m. Her mother left the location for a short while, and after returning to the restaurant, Kananya was not at the location and failed to return to their residence located in the 15 or the 15700 block of Plainview. She's described as 18 years old, autistic female, 5'5", 180 to 200 pounds, has long braids tied into a bun. She was last seen wearing a pink hooded sweatshirt, black stretch pants, and white, black, red Jordan shoes. The attached photo is the only one available at the time. She is described as being in good physical condition. If anyone has seen her or knows her whereabouts, to contact the department's 8th Precinct Investigative Unit at 313-596-5840. But she was located, but now she's missing again. So it seems like every so often she goes on the run. Here you go. And this is her again. She has the long braids on her head. She's described as 5'5". She's a little different in weight now. She's 220, not 180. Yeah, there you go. Same girl. Same girl. Has a history of running away. I hope they find her again. I hope they do. Hey Brenda, how are you? Good to see you. Okay, we've done her, thank God. Hopefully they find her. Let's see what else we can find. Here. Parents knew of window safety hazard for a year before toddler fell to his death, according to court records. An Independence couple has been accused of felony in connection with the death of a 3-year-old boy who fell from an 8-story window apartment. Wait, an 8-story apartment window. Moses Lee Bass, 30, and his girlfriend Destiny Leanne Randall, 28, were each charged with first-degree endangering the welfare of a child, according to the Jackson County Prosecuting Office, or Prosecutor's Office. The court record stated the boy had fallen out of the window about 10 a.m. on July 29th. Bass, the boy's father, told investigators he had been walking his dog outside the Independence Towers apartments at the time when he saw emergency medical crews arrive at the complex. The boy was taken to Children's Mercy Hospital with head trauma and broken bones, among his other injuries. He was pronounced dead that afternoon. Bass told investigators that he and his girlfriend knew about the safety hazards of the window. In a probable cause document, Bass was alleged to have known about them since June 2023, and that he knew the children had been able to bypass the locks and get out of the window since December 2023. The parents were in court Wednesday for their first court appearance. Both Bass and Randall asked for a public defender in court. Bass told the judge that he did not have a job and would not be able to afford an attorney. The couple were visibly emotional as they stood in front of the judge. The parents had used a blue metal pole in the window's track and locked the window to keep it closed. However, Bass admitted in court documents that he knew the boy could remove the bar and unlock the windows because their children had thrown toys out the window in the past. This is very sad.
Live, breaking news from KCTV5.
And we continue to track two major stories: a mother and father charged in their little boy's death.
And also, as we speak, we are reaching finally the peak of this life-threatening heat. We'll have full team coverage for you here in minutes. Scorching feels like temperatures reaching 104 degrees today, and we'll be there here in just minutes.
But we want to go ahead and begin with that breaking news. As a mother and father face a judge hours ago, we just learned that they were charged this morning. It's after a 3-year-old boy fell 9 stories to his death out their apartment window. KCTV5's Gianni Navarro was there for their first appearance in court. And Gianni, I think a lot of people out there are wondering, how were the parents as they faced this judge?
Well, Sharon, both the father and mother were emotional during their hearings. I could hear the crackle in their voices and even sniffles from possible tears after the judge told them how long they could possibly be locked up for. Now, if you go ahead and take a look at your screens, you'll see the father, 30-year-old Moses Bass, and his girlfriend, 28-year-old Destiny Randall, who's also the biological mother of that 3-year-old. They are both being charged with endangering the welfare of a child and could serve 10 to 30 years or life in prison. Now, they both asked for a public defender. Bass told the judge he couldn't afford an attorney because he doesn't have a job. According to court records, Randall told police she was in a bedroom in the apartment and the window that the child fell from was closed and secured. Bass told investigators that he and his girlfriend knew about the safety hazards of the window and that they knew the boy could remove the bar and unlock the windows. Now, they are both being held on a $100,000 bond and will not be allowed to contact each other or their other 3 children. They will be back here for another hearing next Wednesday to review that bond. We'll, of course, be there and update you on that as well. Live from Kansas City, Gianni Navarro, KCTV5 News.
Brutal. 10 to 30 years in jail, and they've lost a child. I wonder where the other children are. I hope they're okay. I really do. But it just shows you how much you have to keep an eye on with children, right? You just do. It's very sad that a little boy lost his life in that way. Must have been very horrific. Yeah, that's terrible, especially because they knew about the window. I 100% agree. Terrible. I'll keep an eye on that. When they head back to court next week, I will try and bring it back to you again. They're next due back in court on the 7th of August. Their preliminary hearing will be on August 26th at 10:30 a.m. in the morning. So we'll have to have a look at that next week and the week after. Okay. While we're watching that, I caught this. Murder charges filed in 1985 cold case homicide in Holt County. After nearly 39 years after a woman was murdered while working the night shift in Mound City, a man has been charged for her death. On Wednesday, Holt County Sheriff Steve Portman announced the Holt County prosecuting attorney filed a first-degree murder charge against Kirby G. David in the death of Peggy J. Horseman. David is already behind bars with the Missouri Department of Corrections for an unrelated crime. The sheriff said Horseman was found brutally murdered while working as a night clerk at the old King Oil Station in the early morning of September 27, 1985. According to court records, Horseman was shot in the back of the head and found in the back of the store. As her family laid her to rest, investigators began following leads, but nothing turned up until this. In November 2022, the Holt County Sheriff's Office brought on investigator Captain Terry Horner to help investigate Horseman's murder and other cold cases. Sheriff Portman said the work by investigators, advances in forensic technology, and the support of her family and community brought them to this discovery. David was charged due to evidence gathered, but has not yet appeared in court. Here's a jailhouse photo of David Kirby right there. Not a great photo, though. On Wednesday, KCTV5 spoke with multiple community members about what happened in 1985 and now this update. A city resident said, I just remember where she worked out there and heard about what happened to her, and from then on, nobody knew anything. Um, the resident said, we've had a few other murders that have never been solved around here. Not many, but maybe 2 or 3. But yeah, for a little town, I don't know. I didn't think they'd ever solve it, but they did. Trevor Gillen works for Mound City and sees some of the Horseman family come into the store where he works. He said he was only 3 years old when the murder happened, but remembers hearing about it recently when a petition went around regarding her death. Heard about that and there was a petition going around. I definitely supported them on what they were going after. It's a terrible thing to have happened. It is, but I'm glad they've got the guy. That's a long time to wait. That was before I was even born. No, I was 1 year old. 1 year old when she was murdered, and they just figured it out.
As the town of Mound City, Missouri, really talking tonight, nearly 39 years later, and an hour away from the metro, Holt County sheriffs say they know who killed a woman back in 1985. KCTV5 Samantha Boring joins us live now from Mound City. Samantha, what do residents there in that area have to say about this development so many years later?
Hey, Carolyn, it was the talk of the town in 1985, and today, once again, heard throughout the community, even making it to the front of the local paper. I spoke with her family off camera today. They just were not ready to speak. But that early morning here at the former King Oil station, the murder of Peggy Horseman still lingers in the minds of many. September 27, 1985. Peggy Horseman was working at this once King Oil station.
Peggy was by herself.
The night clerk found shot to death. As her family laid her to rest and the years went by, still no answers for those close to her and Mound City.
We've had a few other murders that's never been solved around here. Not many, maybe 2, 3.
Now in 2024, the Holt County Sheriff's Office says work by the investigators, advances in forensic technology, and the support of Peggy's family and the community, they found the man believed to be responsible. This man, Kirby David, currently held on a separate charge in Missouri. He's now facing first-degree murder by the Holt County prosecuting attorney. Trevor Gillen was just a child when this all happened, but he first heard about it recently after a petition went around regarding Peggy's death.
I heard about that, and there was a petition going around, and I definitely supported them and what they were after. So.
He and many others feel this is a sense of closure for her family.
Well, I think it did, because there was quite a few signatures, I believe, on that petition. Yes, it was a big deal in the community, for sure.
Closure, even decades later.
For a little town, I don't know, I didn't think they'd ever solve it, but they did.
We do not know yet when Kirby David will be in court for this murder charge. We are expecting to talk with the Holt County Sheriff in the next week or so about this case. Live in Mound City, Samantha Boring, KCTV5 News.
Her name really is Samantha Boring. And you're supposed to be a news anchor. I would definitely be looking into getting like a stage name or something like that. You know, I'd be like, my name is Samantha Exciting. I've got a stage name. Rachel says, glad it got solved. Me too. That's a long time to wait for her family to know who walked into her work and shot her in the back of the head for who knows what reason. Probably to rob the store or whatever, but pretty horrible. Is Grady Judd going to be holding a meeting on this one? I don't know. I don't think so. Different county. Different county. What's Grady Judd's county? I can't remember. He's in Polk County. Polk County. Almost sounds like Polk County when they talk about it. No K. Polk County. You have a friend who's a surgeon called Dr. Slaughter? Yeah, that might be a good one to change. Yeah, probably a robbery, yeah. I don't think they say what the crime was related to, do they? It just said she was murdered while working the night shift in Mound City, but no motive. Said that Horseman was brutally murdered while working as a night clerk at the old King Oil Station in the early morning hours of September 27, 1985. But no, yeah, no motive. Yeah, that's it. All right, my friends, I am also getting sleepy. It is 3 o'clock. I will be back tomorrow for another live show. It is a Friday night. We'll probably be on a little late, being that it's a Friday. Same with Saturday night, and then Sunday we're back at our normal time. But I'll be back tomorrow night for more true crime fun. Okay, I hope you can tune in then. Cheat No More says, when they say Dr. Slaughter over the loudspeaker at the hospital, it makes me shiver anytime. Oh, no. Rachel says, great show. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow, okay? 9 p.m. Oh, not 9 p.m. We'll be on late. It's a Friday night, but we'll all hang out. We'll do some true crime updates. I hope you go watch that Unsolved Mysteries, the episode we talked about on the first show tonight. It's a really good episode. I hope you can go and watch it. Yes, good night, everyone. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's Friday. Be happy. It's Friday. It's the end of the work week. Be happy. The weekend is arriving. Good night, everyone. Love you all. And thanks to Peekaboo Cockatiel for the donation in the first show. I really appreciate it. She said, I appreciate what you do. Thank you. Thank you, Peekaboo Cockatiel. I do appreciate you. Good night, everyone. See you later. Bye bye.